Get it correct.
Hello, this is week 1 of the 13-week fiscal program for American Prisoners of War. We have myself, Chief Biko. Today we have Chief Alligator, as well as Chief Quietwater. And again, as always, here we focus more so on the first letter in the acronym APOW, which is American. Before we get started today, definitely want to thank all of the subscribers for this past week. We definitely had an uptick in viewership, not even an uptick, just crazy amount. So definitely want to shout out the subscribers as well as the viewers for, of course, supporting the channel. Greatly appreciated, and love to see that you all are responding to it. So definitely wanted to shout you all out on that tip. And we'll jump into the 12 steps by Chief Alligator. Let me go ahead and share my screen for you. Right. It's showing. Nah. Hold on real quick. Let me stop.
Okay.
Still nothing. Okay.
We got it. Okay. American Prisoner of Wars, 13-week practical program of action for each American prisoner of wars. Step 1, learn about the estate or estates your family originated from. Step 2, who established that estate. Step 3, what tribe and confederacy had jurisdiction over that area prior to the European. Step 4, ask all nonprofit organizations you attend, what's your position on reparations? Step 5, they either support it or they don't. No support, no money. However, if they support it, then children and adults need weekly classes free of charge about steps 1, 2, and 3. In addition, field trips to APOW landmarks in that city, county, and state are needed. Step 6, don't support European holidays for the remainder of the 13-week time frame. Step 7, avoid spending money with any small business that doesn't hire your people, gas stations, nail salons, subways, corner stores, etc. Step 8, all businesses need operating cash. Spend money with American businesses. Step 9, all other groups rely on our energy and operating cash to survive. Set the trends of making other groups follow our lead and support our clubs, services, products, and entertainment. Step 10, the U.S. government is bankrupt. The Federal Reserve prints money, i.e. quantitative easing. It also burns money, i.e. quantitative tightening. The U.S. dollar hasn't been backed by gold since Richard Nixon in 1971, the Gold Standard Act. The government operates off the full faith of its citizens to pay debt and taxes. American prisoners of war no longer have faith in the U.S. government. This is why financial support will be altered, stopped, and redirected. If you could scroll up a little bit, okay. Step 11, teach your kids 1 hour a day about their history on this land. Subsection A, have them learn about an American inventor. Subsection B, have them know about our heroes. Subsection C, they should know the European that conquered the estate you live in. Subsection D, they should know the nation of people prior to European invasion, militarily and culturally. And step 12, practicing these steps will educate us on the land we're claiming, America, and attaches us to the history and laws of the U.S. government. Every estate American prisoners of war live in should have steps 1, 2, and 3 advertised via social media, radio, and newspaper. This in 13 weeks, 1 fiscal quarter will bring us together for our common cause. For me this week, if we can scroll back up, Chief Biko, in this moment today, I would say what sticks out to me would be step 3, what tribe and confederacy had jurisdiction over that area prior to the European. We're well knee-deep in American history at this point, so we understand that the government on this land prior to the European coming here was confederacies. The European came in contact with the Iroquois Confederacy first. So understanding that, how do we allow another group of people to claim confederacy when they clearly came from another landmass that dealt with monarchs? So I'll stop right there and y'all can share what step jumps out to y'all tonight.
I think for me, it's number 10, the fact that the US government is bankrupt, and what's going on right now in society, in regards to the shortages of food and um, you know, inflation and things of that nature. The fact that, we are still supporting the system of thinking that the government has this money, although we're trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. But I think that sticks out to me just because of the nature of what we all are going through on a massive level right now with the the government and the printing of money and things of that nature.
Mine probably just kind of piggybacks off of number 10, number 4 and 5, but specifically number 4, to ask all nonprofit organizations you attend, what's your position on reparations, especially after last week, seeing some headlines regarding California actually diving into like some studying regarding reparations. Haven't delved into the actual document to see exactly what it all entails, but from what I did see, it was a lot of confusion and not a lot of real resources, I'd say. So kind of going back off, the U.S. government is bankrupt. If we were to ask for straight, cash, then what are we actually, looking at, or what are we actually taking in that fashion? Because like you stated, inflation is at an all-time high. Dollar really, we already know, isn't backed by anything, but of course the value of the dollar continues to dwindle as more as they continue to, again, quantitative easing, put money into the system, just continuing to print. That just lowers the value of it. So just making sure that we as a collective understand what we're asking for in regards to reparations, being very specific in what we want, and being specific in regards to who those reparations should be applied to or given to. So definitely that was what stood out to me this week. Next, we'll have the inventor for this week. This week's inventor will be John Parker. Go ahead and share my screen. We haven't done this one before. I had to see if we even stumbled across this fella, but we actually hadn't. John Parker, he was born in 1847, I believe. Let me see if I go back to my, yes, 1827 actually. So 1827, American inventor, born in Virginia. Said he was born enslaved, but I found something regarding his youthful years, basically saying that he remembered his father being an aristocrat, so basically being a nobleman, and that kind of made me, or triggered me, to think back on that special field order document, when in that document it said if 3 men or 3 Black men came together, basically saying it's 3 heads of households, 3 chiefs, 3 people of stature came together to do business or whatever they stated in that document, and they would pretty much be the ruling per se class of whatever's being dictated at that time. So that really stood out to me there. But this document kind of even piggybacks off of Chief Blackcoat's last week in regards to just being inventors, especially in regards to type of tilling land and farming. So what he made was the soil pulverizer. So sometimes if you see like those big industry, let me see if I can make this bigger. Those big pulverizers, usually all mechanics now, machinery, but this material or this object here is what actually digs up that soil for you to plant the seeds and do whatever you need to do in regards to planting and farming. But he was the creator of this, and that patent number is 442538, and it was granted December 9th, 1890. So again, just showing the intuitiveness and the creative ability of our people, going back, of course, predating any of the Civil Rebellion, as far as this person's birth, and I'm pretty sure all of his inventions, but this was just the year that it was actually granted, 1890. So just showing again, that creative ability that industry creators. But as far as us having any profit from this industry that he's created, none whatsoever.
You click on that link again real quick, that image.
And it's crazy because I know exactly what that mechanism is. Being from Ohio, now of course it's updated, but the length of those things are so wide, and you can tell like they can cover such a large portion of land at one time. That always like intrigued me, how big and massive that thing is, and it waters and put the plants down and cut it and everything. So I know exactly what that is. Yeah.
Correct.
Wow.
Like you said, they just made it on a larger scale, but this is pretty much where it started from. And then kind of alluding to what Chief Keebler stated last week, John Deere, when I typed it in, John Deere showed the pulverizers on that mass industrial type of scale.
Right. Wow.
Again, another, I think his name was John too, another John. I think the last week's inventor who created the lawnmower, I think his first name was John as well. So you can see kind of a trend here. John Deere probably has a bunch of our patents. So that would be somebody that we would need to talk to in regards to reparations, saying, no, we need all of this back, because these were things that our people created. So just wanted to.
One second, Chief Pico. That image, I just wanted to just interject. In today's world, they like to use the word trade or vocation. And that's really a disservice to who these men were. These men were scientists. The math that's involved, like Chief Quietwater was saying, the geometry, the trigonometry to make sure that those spikes were at certain angles, and the mechanical engineering that's involved. So we live in a society now where our great grandparents were skilled scientists. Most of them had skills, or what we now call trades today. And then out of those skills, once they mastered it, they were able to invent new things. Here we live in a society now where we don't even honor our own great grandparents because we poo-poo the skill. And I just wanted to highlight that yeah, I'm gonna say all these inventors were people with skill.
Correct.
And they apprenticed under somebody, and then once they got good at it, they started thinking outside the box, and the world benefits from the minds of these people that we try to call slave.
Great point. Great point. Share my screen. And next we will have Dr. Carter G. Woodson quote. Pull my screen up again.
I want to do the scroll down. Keep scrolling. Okay, I'm gonna do number 9. Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Negroes must become like English gentlemen who study the law of the land, not because they intend to practice the profession, but because every gentleman should know the law. In the interpretation of the law by the courts, 2, all the rights of the Negroes in this country are involved, and a larger number of us must qualify for this important service. We may have too many lawyers of the wrong kind, but we have not our share of the right kind. And I wanted to read this one because it piggybacks on what you shared, Chief Biko, about the whole state of California with the reparations. Listening to Dr. Carr and just standing on the edge of the coin and listening to people on the heads and tails side of the coin. One of the things we have a huge issue with is a make-believe class system where people that are on the academic side of things feel like they're the only ones that should be in the room talking about American history, where Dr. Carter G. Woodson clearly shows there's a difference between highly schooled and highly educated people. People who are educated are people who learn for themselves, not based off a curriculum that somebody else puts in front of your face. So if we as a group of people start understanding the law that we're up under and that we're prisoners of war, it will be hard for these people from the academia world to continue to try to step on us as if you're not qualified to speak on these issues. Because one of the things I heard him share was a lot of people don't want to open their mouths in the world of academia because it's going to stop their acceleration within that world. This isn't about promotions. This is about liberating people. But when you're in that fabricated class, there can't be class amongst our people because you're prisoners of war. Your kid can get killed, whether you a doctor, a lawyer. So this idea that we've got lower class and upper class amongst our people, it's an illusion. And I think this is one of the biggest things that's hurting us on reparations, because you have people with belief systems or ideologies, which would be Pan-Africanism. That's an ideology. That's no different than believing you're a Christian. That has nothing to do with who your family is. And I think it's very interesting that these people have they descend from American tribes, Choctaw, Chicasaw, Cherokee, but yet they're so highly schooled that they'll take on a different identity or belief system. And that's why what we do, we're just trying to root it. But that jumps out to me today. It'll be hard for them to continue to co-opt our people once we all become like English gentlemen and do what we do.
Great point. Great point. And kind of what you said, that idea of trying to kind of be somebody else now seem like we are, or these highly schooled individuals who are, looked at as leaders have an identity crisis themselves. They don't like to look at their lineage. They rather go and, like you said, into the Pan-African realm or these other designations instead of tracing their lineage back and say, okay, so this is who I am. This is who I descend from. Why am I still teaching this other stuff? And like you said, knowing that I have, Choctaw blood or Chickasaw blood or whatever, nation or tribe blood within them. So great point there. Next,
I was going to point out too that, like you said, just knowing that information, but they still drift so far left of they know who they are, where they come from, most of them, but then they drift so far left in regards to what they teach or attempt to teach our people, which causes a lot of confusion.
Correct. Next, we will have Chief Quietwater with the legal definitions and maroon historical points. Do you have it on your water?
I do. Yeah, I got it. Number 1, American, a native of America. Number 2, descendants, one who follows in the bloodline of an ancestor, either lineally or collaterally. Number 3, slavery, a situation in which one person has absolute power over the life, fortune, and liberty of another. Prisoner of war, a person, usually a soldier, who is captured by or surrenders to the enemy in wartime. Number 5, school, an institution at which instruction is given in a particular discipline. Number 6, education, an enlightening experience. And then the maroon historical points was a person escaping slavery, seeking freedom, or breaking the law. Number 2, providing unity and strong defense came first. Number 3, maroon leaders were first and foremost military figures. Number 4, maroons established guerrilla warfare, planting sharp sticks in thick grass. Number 5, maroons knew their European enemies' language, defenses, and plans.
Thank you, Chief Quietwater. And lastly, we will jump into the Constitution. Article 1, Section 10 states, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. So as we always read each week, especially in regards to the 12 steps, that number 10, coincides with this here in regards to Nixon taking the dollar off of the gold standard in 1971. So if he did that, then again, constitutionally, the only thing that will be payable or payment of debts would be if it's gold or silver coin. Everything else would be a derivative and it's not actually constitutional money. So again, as we stated, just regarding, inflation, things of that nature, reparations, if you were to get all $100,000 each, it would be basically nothing. It would be backed by nothing because again, it's not gold and silver. It's not an actual resource from the land. Next, we'll jump into Article 6. Paragraph 2, this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. So here in the Constitution is basically saying, basically saying that the supreme law of the land is the treaty. So of course, as we read last year, during the last fiscal quarter and previous quarter, all of those treaties will be the supreme law of the land, unless one came after it that would supersede it or would make that previous treaty notwithstanding. So again, here in the Constitution, it's clearly saying that the supreme law of the land is the treaty. I'm going to scroll back up to see the powers of the president. Let's see, yes, we skipped it already. Article 2, Section 2. The president shall be the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of several states. So again, this is kind of one of the videos that actually kind of blew up over this past week, was this one regarding the Militia Act of 1755. So I think people are finally getting to, or is finally connecting the dots in regards to why that Militia Act was so important. And because it's showing who has that power over that said group, that said military force. And again, that will be the president. So they're not only, again, commander-in-chief of the Army, the Navy, but also of the militia of several states. And in that video, we even broke it down to show that Georgia was pretty much carved out in militia districts. So again, like you said, on that video, they have the commerce side, but then we also have that militia district side. And we can even see some of the names and code names that they had for them. I definitely wanted to point that out before we jump into the Indian Treaty. All right. And last week we left off in Article 6, or beginning of Article 6, haven't started it yet. Did anybody want to start us off?
I'll start it off.
Okay.
All right. So Article 6, the Choctaws and Chickasaws hereby grant a right of way through their lands to any company or companies which shall be duly authorized by Congress or by the legislators of said nations respectively, and which shall, with the express consent and approbation, undertake to construct a railroad through the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations from the north to the south, from the east to the west, said thereof, in accordance with the provisions of Article 18 of the Treaty of June 1855, which provides that for any property taken or destroyed in the construction thereof, full compensation shall be made to the party or parties injured. So I'll stop there. It's kind of a lot. Can you go back up? Let me see here. So they were given authority to basically construct a railroad through the nations, and anything that was taken or destroyed, they were granted full compensation for that. Is that what I'm reading?
Well, let's highlight that first sentence in Article 6. Not first sentence, but the Choctaws and Chickasaws hereby grant a right of way through their lands to any company or companies which shall be duly authorized by Congress or by the legislatures of said nations respectively. That's a contradiction in itself, because what we know is they were forced by a rogue military through fake treaties west of the Mississippi.
Okay.
So that's not Choctaw and Chickasaw land. When they put them in what's so-called Indian territory, somebody was already there.
Okay.
That's one thing I'm noticing. The other thing I'm noticing is, how was the West? How did nations west of the Mississippi fall? Because our family that went out of these two nations, they were in bed with the United States government.
Right.
That's what the United States government is saying. You're giving us, you're granting us a right of way through your land. But
got you.
why is that their land when you put them on the Trail of Tears and force them out there?
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a major contradiction. Okay. So let me see here. So with provisions, let me see, which provides that for any property taken or destroyed in the construction thereof, full compensation shall be made to the party or parties injured, to be ascertained and determined in such manner as the President of the United States shall direct. So the President of the United States would be the one who's in control of stating, putting a value on it, or whatever the damage or injured party would receive. Is that what that's saying?
Right, but never forget. So what happens if they go through the Kansas people's territory? We know there's an American nation called Kansas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what the United States government is saying is, when we run this railway system through Kansas,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to compensate Choctaw and Chickasaw, not the Kansas nation.
Okay, got you.
So they're getting ready to rob all the nations west of the Mississippi and empower the Choctaw Chickasaw.
Okay. But such railroad company or companies with all its or their agents and employees shall be subject to the laws of the United States relating to intercourse with Indian tribes, and also to such rules and regulations as may be prescribed by the Secretary of the Interior for that purpose. And it is also stipulated and agreed.
Let's slow down a little bit, because you're reading a lot. Let's hold what you got there. Chief Biko, you want to jump in?
Agents, employees.
I was going to say, it sounds like they're trying to pin the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations definitely against any of the nations west of that Mississippi, like you said, that was already there, in particular Kansas. And also what I'm seeing here, there was something that stood out to me here in regards to, like you said, their lands, knowing kind of what we know about, that special order 15 in regards to like absolute title. I'm pretty sure that the military department of the West has all of these absolute titles. So even if they were to say, yeah, these are your lands, even though we're not, because again, they're replacing whoever was there prior, they still don't have that absolute title of that land, because they're pretty much still underneath that military occupation, which would be that military department of the West. So that just shows, again, if y'all don't go along with the program, we'll kick y'all off this land that we've already given you as well. So we'll just continue to push all of you off the map. So that's what I'm kind of.
So it's basically kind of just giving them like a false sense of power, basically. Is that what I'm understanding? Kind of like a false sense of rights that they're telling them that they have, but they really truly don't have it.
Correct. Kind of letting them be that figurehead of I guess I liken it to like something like Snowfall. The main character, he doesn't really have any power because he's getting all his stuff from the government. So like, as long as you keep all your stuff, keep the peace and distribute our drugs, you'll be fine. Outside of that, if you don't do that,
Gotcha.
we'll knock you off, we'll replace you. So that's how I
Okay.
kind of see these Chickasaw and Choctaw Nation as like the figurehead for them
Yeah.
to continue to push west.
Okay.
Let's highlight one more
Gotcha.
thing to kind of go into what you just said. Go down a little bit with your cursor where it says which provides, right up where your cursor is. Go, yep. Which provides that for any property taken or destroyed in the construction thereof, full compensation shall be made to the party or parties injured, to be ascertained and determined in such manner as to who President in the United States shall direct. So what you said, Chief Quietwater, this treaty is putting the Choctaw and Chickasaw underneath the United States government.
Mhm.
And so anything
Right.
they destroy, whether it be the Kansas nation, whatever other nations that railroad system's about to go through, they're not compensating them those nations. They're going to funnel all of that through the Choctaw and Chickasaw, and only if the president decides to compensate. It ain't guaranteed that you're going to get compensated. And notice how he just took that out of his Congress's hands, because Congress makes the law, but he's operating as commander in chief with war powers.
Okay.
Ooh,
I was gonna say that
it's a whole lot of fuckery.
I'm about to say it sounds like it's coming underneath the War Department, because like you said, it's strictly depending on what he feels like as the commander in chief. So again, kind of like proving that military department of the West is probably the one that has those land titles as far as where they put them on these reservations and things of that nature. So I think that, that's just a further evidence that,
And catch that next sentence, that clears up what you just said. Highlight that next one. But such railroad company or companies with all its or their agents and employees shall be subject to the laws of the United States relating to intercourse with the Indian tribes. So when it comes to the 5 civilized tribes, because there's only 5 that they recognize it, that's a Congress issue, because Congress makes laws.
Right.
But when it comes to getting compensated for shit we tear up, that's coming through the president. You see what they doing?
Go ahead and wipe out anything, wipe out any of the tribes that we haven't recognized, like you stated. So again, Kansas, we put you in here, but y'all not one of those 5 civilized tribes. Any other people that we run across to, we just knocking you off. So damn, that just clearly shows military occupation.
If we could just like maybe stop at a couple of punctuation marks moving forward so we can kind of break it down.
Okay.
Yeah, they got the bait and switch going on.
Right. Let's see, where did I stop? And it also stipulated and agreed that the nations through which the road or roads aforesaid shall pass, many subscribe to the stock of a particular company or companies, such amount or amounts as they may be able to pay for in alternate sections of unoccupied land for space of 6 miles on each side of said road or roads, at a price per acre to be agreed upon between said Choctaw and Chickasaw nations and the said company or companies, subject to the approval of the President of the United States. So basically, again, the President of the United States is putting the value on the price per acre to be agreed upon. It's not like they're it's not like they have the control or the authority to say, hey, this is how much it's going to be. It is at the discretion and approval of the President of the United States.
Okay.
All right. I think they slick. Highlight that where it says and, right there where you are, and it is also stipulated and agreed that the nation through which the road or roads aforesaid shall pass may subscribe to the stock of the particular company or companies, such amount or amounts as they may be able to pay for. Highlight that. Okay. Europeans are owning the railroad companies.
Right.
So what the government is saying through this treaty is as they go through different nations' land, we fucking your shit up because we laying railroad. But you can buy into the company that were fucking up your land to run the railroad.
Wow.
So basically, we finna use you to pump up the stock of our company as we destroy your shit.
What does it say?
That's
Monopoly? What's that that little piece of Monopoly? You get that railroad.
Mm.
Man.
That's one of the most important pieces that you write. You get
Mhm.
all 4 railroads and it's 2.
Yep. And it's OV.
This is
Damn.
Wow.
Ooh,
Buy
right.
stock into the company. Okay. And I'm thinking, no, that's stock, yeah.
So
Damn.
you don't own the land no more.
Mhm.
But this company that we're destroying your shit to run this railroad through, you can invest in that.
That's
We got
crazy.
You see what I'm saying?
plugging into their matrix, into their game.
Right.
They're no longer they're no longer American. They'll be
Wow.
like, okay, all of that stuff that y'all had in life is no more. Now look,
Yeah.
you can invest in this stock though. Yeah, damn.
Then it says, as they may be able to pay for in alternate sections of unoccupied land for a space of 6 miles on each side of the road or roads at a price per acre to be agreed upon between the said Choctaw and Chicasaw nations and the said company or companies. Again, putting those 2 nations under those railroad companies.